It's perfectly browned, it's melty, it's sweet. It's the s'more you just cooked over the fire at AutoCamp. That's right, Hilton brings you new ways to stay, where you don't just get nightly s'mores. You also get clubhouse happy hours to gather under the stars. All while staying in custom-designed airstreams, cabins, and tents, and insanely cool outdoor destinations. If AutoCamp sounds like a dream, it sounds like it's time to redeem those Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
Welcome back to I Want That Too, the podcast where Disney merch meets Disney history. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and as always, I'm joined by the lovely Lauren Hersey.
Hey, Jim. With Valentine's Day right around the corner, which literally will be tomorrow, we're talking about all the things that we love today and Disney, of course. So today we're talking about just, a few more like Cinderella merch items that just came out. We're going to talk about, I know this is a merch show, so there's a little lean on this one, but we're talking about Disney weddings because, yes, I found out how much it costs, and I'm curious, so I thought maybe our listeners would be curious as well. And then in today's feature, Jim is going to be telling us about the time that Michael Eisner almost had Mickey and Minnie get married. Yes, that was almost a thing. So I'm so excited. I've wanted to talk about this for quite some time. But before we get into all of that, I have to ask, do you have any big Valentine's plans with your main squeeze?
Ah, the lovely Miss Nancy. The hard reality, Lauren, is that we're going to celebrate Valentine's Day by getting up at the butt crack of dawn so Nancy can go teach her water aerobics class, which, all her little ladies who love her, they love her class, and more to the point, lots of people show up. She's had as many as 30, 35 people. My problem is that, again, some of these women have been taking water aerobics class since water was first discovered. Okay, so I've only been doing this with her for about 10 years. So I'm the newcomer, and these women picked out their spots in the pool back in the Paleozoic age. So I get banished to the deep end. Where I'm not really exercising. I'm just trying not to drown for 45 minutes. So if I survive, maybe we'll go do something on Valentine's Day. But
well, I hope for your survival, Jim. And that is love right there, going and supporting her and doing her water aerobics. Like, that is love.
I keep telling myself that. There are other emotions in there, but there's love. There's definitely love. Anyway, before we get started here, I guess we should acknowledge the nice folks at Be Our Guest Vacations, the sponsors of this show. And are you planning a Disney trip, whether it's a romantic getaway or a family vacation, packed with the magical memories? These folks have got you covered. As a Platinum-level Earmarked travel agency, Disney recognizes them as one of the best. They're expert agents handle all the details so you can focus on the fun and maybe snag that perfect castle photo. And by the way, it's not just Disney. The folks at Be Our Guest Vacation also have you covered if you're going to Universal or doing a cruise. Best part, their services are completely free. You want to check this out? Head on over to beourguestvacations.com to learn more. Okay, Lauren, so what do you have for our special pre-Valentine's Day version of the show?
All right. Well, starting kind of news. I know we talked about Cinderella like 2 episodes ago. So episode 33. And Jim told this amazing story about how Cinderella actually got made. And like the Betty Boop tie was just, it was just chef's kiss. It was so great. So we did a lot of merch then. But since that episode, our friends at Cakeworthy, Brandon was on the show, the CEO, back in the fall, and was telling us about their new Cinderella line that they're coming out with for the 75th anniversary. And I mean, I feel like we at the top of the show, we just have to highlight it because it is so amazing. It's everything. Do you remember when Brandon was telling us? I can't remember if we were like on, like if we were live or if it was before or after we recorded. Do you remember?
Yeah, now I want to say that Brandon was talking about how they were drawing inspiration from, was it the original Cinderella poster or the reissue posters? What did they do?
Yeah, I feel it was. I mean, so there are a lot of different iconic, poses or like imagery, I guess, for Cinderella. But let me just walk you through some of the items from the collection so that, if folks are interested, they can go check them out. So we can't talk about Cakeworthy without, talking about flannels. And I mean, I was just a sucker over Christmas and had to get the Wicked, flannel for Lainey, like the Glinda. And now I just want more. I mean, I probably have like 12 at this point. And now Eric, it's like Eric's staple. So it's an issue. It's a problem. But so there are two flannels. There's Cinderella and then there's the fairy godmother. And the Cinderella one is like a light powdery blue. And on the back, it says it's like a dream, a wonderful dream come true. You have the carriage on the like breast pocket, and then the Cinderella embroidered on the collar. Very signature for Cakeworthy. And then we have the fairy godmother. And oh, by the way, these are all unisex. So this one is like pink and purple on the back. And no surprise here, it says Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. And then on the front, you're catching the fairy godmother on the collar. And the pocket, you're, I believe, seeing the fairy godmother kind of popping out a bit. So cute. And these are the most comfortable thing you'll ever put on your body. They're $59.95. And then he also has like a comic book sweatshirt. Did you see this one? It's very cute.
Yeah, that in fact, to give Brandon credit, this is a deep dive. I mean, the way Disney used to help sell its animated films is they would do a comic strip version of the film leading up to its release that covered the entire story. So this is what would have been in your Sunday newspaper, this panel, out ahead of the release of Cinderella back in February of 1950. So, wow, I applaud for Brandon or the team there at Cakeworthy for even finding this image.
Yeah, so the image, it's comic book style. There's like a speech bubble that says, "My dress, I'll never get ready on time, never, never." And she's like holding her ears as I'm assuming that her stepsisters are yelling, "Cinderella!"
There you go. There you go.
And then I think this is what you were alluding to when we started talking about Cinderella. So there's these like long T-shirts, and this looks like it looks like the original movie poster art. Is that correct, Jim? I think it's what you were asking him about.
I wonder if this is, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's definitely poster art. I just wonder if this is the Cinderella poster from, say, the first re-release in the 1960s. But again, we'll have to ask Brandon, bring him back on the show and talk about, how they chose the images they chose.
Yeah. And then just two other things that were my personal faves I wanted to shout out. They have this really cool Cinderella jean jacket. Now, this is Cinderella in the pink dress, as the mice, Gus Gus, they're all putting it together for her. It's very, very cute. It's $99.95. But for a staple, it is what it is. And then back by popular demand is the fairy godmother bow hat. I think that this was one of their best sellers, and so they were bringing it back for Cinderella's 75th anniversary. And it says, there's the quote, "If you lost all your faith, I couldn't be here, so here I am." That's on the front brim. And then the back, again, obviously says Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. And I almost said Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. Disney
That's
hasn't
okay.
changed. And, but it has like a very pretty pink bow detail on the back. So it is $29.95. So if you are in the market for some Cinderella merch, you can check these out at cakeworthystore.com.
Okay. So, what do we talk about next on I Want That Too?
Well, I hinted at the top of the show, all the Cinderella talk, like it just had me thinking, like, have you ever met anybody that actually got married in front of Cinderella's castle?
Well, no, but I can go you one better.
Okay.
My first marriage to the lovely Michelle, now Valladolid, was actually the prototype for a brand new wedding at Disney, a Disney intimate wedding.
Okay.
Well, let me explain. Okay, Disney starts offering weddings at their parks in 1991. Starting in 1992, they literally set up Disney Fairytale Weddings. But these are these grand affairs, and in a moment or two, you're going to reveal how much it costs to actually have one of these grand affairs. And Michelle and I had met at Disneyland. We got engaged there, and so we're going to be moving to Orlando. So we're down in Orlando in the fall of 1992. We figured, well, let's at least swing by the Disney Weddings thing and see if there's something they could potentially offer us. And so we go to the Sunbank building and go to the Disney Fairytale Weddings office there and explain, look, I'm a 35-year-old adult. This is my 28-year-old soon-to-be wife, and we don't need a glass carriage. We don't need fireworks. We don't need to get married in front of the castle, but we would like to get married here at the resort. And they're like, well, geez, I don't know if we could do that. And I think it's Michelle said, well, no, there's some lovely spaces over at, for example, the Yacht and the Beach Club. Have you ever been over there? And the woman we're meeting with is like, no, I haven't. And it's like, well, come, get in a car. Let's go. And we literally drive over to the hotel, and there's a lovely little courtyard off of the lobby of I want to say it's the beach club side of that hotel. And we walked this woman into the space and said, look, we'd only want to have like 20 or 30 of our friends at this thing and just to have the ceremony here and maybe march down the hall to Ariel's and have our wedding banquet there. And the woman, I've never seen somebody whip their phone out so fast in my entire life. And she's suddenly on the phone to the office and says, get people over here. Oh my God. I think we have a brand new division of the company. And long story short, we jump ahead to January now of 1993 when we have our ceremony at the beach club in this tiny little courtyard. We have our 20 and 30 guests. However, we have 50 representatives from the Walt Disney Company.
Oh my gosh.
Who are watching this because it's like, oh my God, we're going to make money hand over fist. Intimate weddings. Oh my God, we could do intimate weddings. And we were the test case for that. And now, seriously, you go to Walt Disney World, and if you're an adult and don't want to necessarily pay for the package to have the wedding at the official wedding chapel next to the flow or get married in front of the castle, there is this option now. These little intimate weddings, thanks to Jim and Michelle. And sadly, the wedding didn't make it, but the division of the company is going strong even today.
Gangbusters. Actually, it's kind of crazy that you bring that up about the intimate weddings because as, we're thinking about talking about this, I put on my Facebook and just ask, like, of course I have Disney friends, but I'm like, hey, like, who's gotten married at Disney? And turns out this woman reaches out to me, and we actually graduated from high school together, and she did just that. She had an intimate wedding, and this woman is amazing and sent me literally everything. So I got this I think I even have her contract. Like, I've got it all. Now she got married in 2018 or 19, and it was just her and her husband and their 3 kids. And so they got married at the beach, at the Polynesian.
Okay.
And so it was, for just the five of them, it was like $3,500, which I feel like is fairly, I don't know, for Disney standards, affordable, and it could be more now. But she got the violinist and the clergy and the limo ride and like all of the things for that, like a great experience. And then she sprung for the photo package, and I saw her pictures. They were incredible. And she wanted to do them in the Magic Kingdom, but they were like an extra $2,800 for the photos. And so they picked her up, her and her husband up at 5 a.m. to go over there before the parks opened. And there are like 3 different routes that you can take. And honestly, she said that her wedding date was planned around the route that she wanted, because they'll only have one couple on a route at a time. So route 1 was Prince Charming's Carousel, the Mad Tea Party, and the Wishing Well. That's what they did. Then there's route 2, which was the Enchanted Tales with Belle, Be Our Guest Restaurant, and Under the Sea with Little Mermaid. And the third route was Rapunzel's Tower, Haunted Mansion, and Pirates of the Caribbean. So that was $2,800. If you wanted the like carriage, I think it was another like $2,000 or $3,000 for that.
Easily.
Yes.
Easily.
And they do it for big parties. So now this was just for their family of 5. So if you go up the next level, even at the Poly, to get married at the beach, then it goes up to like $12,000 for 20 people. And they said if you have more than 6 people, that they could cancel your wedding on the spot. If that's a part of the contract.
Wow. Okay. I have to admit, what fascinates me is the price points. Also, let's be honest here, the time limitation. I mean, the notion of when you're on Route 1, for example, and getting your shot on the carousel and the Mad Teacup, and you are under the gun, because they need to open that park at 7. And that's the other thing is you are... Did they talk about dodging like the bread trucks or the janitors who are the people with leaf blowers? I mean, you're there, you're smiling lovingly at your spouse, and in the background is like, because they're.
Good thing there are photos and not videos.
There we go.
But like her photos were stunning, and like so they all start at Cinderella's castle, and I'm just talking about World right now. But I don't know. I feel like that could be worth the price if you're gonna go and do this. Now she said that to do a wedding in the park, an actual ceremony in Magic Kingdom, like that wasn't even an option for them. So you must have to have so many guests, because there are ones that have a minimum. So. I went to, in addition to all the lovely folks that reached out to me and shared their information, I did just go to DisneyWeddings.com, and there's some offshoots there, but they're not just making money on the weddings. They're making money on the vow renewals, and like if you think it's probably because people have more of a disposable income, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, face it. A vow renewal, you are far enough along in life that you have, the polite term is disposable income, that you're at that point where you're willing, you look at the cost of what it takes to do something like this in the Magic Kingdom or Epcot or wherever, and it's like, to make my spouse happy is worth that. So you do it.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't know, for the cost, like, I would love to have a Disney vow renewal, but I don't know. I have 3 kids, so I'm hoping that I have 3 shots. one of them wanting some type of Disney wedding.
Okay.
But they also
Okay.
are like marketing towards engagements and
Yes.
honeymoons. So just a couple little highlights that I found out that I thought, maybe our listeners would be interested in, or you would be. So if you actually want to get married at Magic Kingdom, it's $40,000 just for the ceremony, nothing else.
Yep. Now, mind you, you're paying for the location, and you're paying for that memory to be in that supposedly magical place for your heartfelt moment. But
Yeah.
I want to stress that $40,000 gets a lot of people to Fiji.
Yeah, that's not even the reception. That's just the ceremony. And so if there's also the East Lawn, which is slightly less, and then if you just want to get married at the train station, I think it's only like 25,000. So that's a deal. And I mean, you still get the vibe, right?
Yeah, again, provided, of course, that, you're not looking down at a street full of Pargos that are, stocking the toilet paper. But yeah, yes, you're up there in the train station, and there's a castle in the distance, so it's lovely.
Yeah, it's lovely. So some other things, so the reception's happening at Magic Kingdom. It's after the park closes, but they do offer things like, the private fireworks, the, Mickey and Minnie showing up for your first dance, all those, magical things. But if that's out of reach for some, it seems like now, Jim, like I think you guys were the trendsetters. Like you could literally get married anywhere at Walt Disney World. Like you want to go to Art Animation and get married, like they're going to figure it out. But over in Epcot, you can have your Ceremony of the World showcase. You love Italy, got Italian roots, you can get married there, Japan, wherever. But it is a little bit more limited for all of the parks where you can actually have a reception.
Yeah. They, again, the notion is they want to hustle you and your party inside. And let's be honest here, there are a couple of reasons. One is, again, they got to get the park ready to open for the day. Also, it's Florida. It's either going to be hot and humid or raining, whether it's early in the morning or late at night. So to get you undercover in controlled circumstances so you and your guests can relax and have a little slice of cake, that makes sense. But yeah, once you turn the key on one of these things and they start the ceremony, again, the clock is always ticking. Glad you're having a lovely wedding and a memorable moment at Disney, but can you move it along? Please.
Yeah, like I can't imagine that that's like a relaxing day, just enjoying family and friends as you're being like prodded around wherever you need to go. Different strokes for different folks. I thought a cool one was also that you could get married in the world of Avatar. Like Pandora, right? Like bioluminescence. Like I thought that was cool.
Can you have a giant 12-foot tall blue person officiate?
Oh, the shaman from the Navi River journey. Oh, that'd be awesome.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can't have your reception there, but you can go, to what is it, Tamu Tamu or something like that, or Harambe Village and have a reception. So if getting married at Disney World or doing any of these things is on your vision board, I'd probably start, banking away some cash now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention, it's not just Disney World. That was just the examples that I had. But you can get married at Disneyland, at Alani, or on a cruise ship. And, if people are serious, there is an event coming up at the end of February at Disneyland. It's February 22nd, and you can meet with the Fairytale Wedding team and tour venues and see decor setups. Like I'm assuming it's like a DVC type of, you want to tour DVC, except for this one's $65 a person.
Well, but again, you'll get a tiny sliver of wedding cake, and you'll get to see cool things. It pops the hood on an interesting aspect of the Disney parks, the Disney resorts, but Lauren, to bring this back to, again, I Want That. This is, of course, a merch
Yes, it
show.
is.
So I guess we should point out, you can also buy your wedding dress from Disney, right?
Yes, and I mean, like, fun fact here, I think that we talked about Disney wedding dresses and like their villain line in our first episode of I
We
Want That
did.
Too. I mean, and we're coming
Mhm.
up on a year, right?
Yep. Yeah. We were looking for an interesting way into the world, folks, and we found it with the because nothing says I love you like dressing up like Maleficent. But again, they do, even with the villains, they do lovely stuff, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, like, even the villains' dresses, they're all black, it looks like.
Hmm.
But, I like the Jafar, the Jafar inspired dress. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, you're going for something dramatic. I mean, hey, one of the photo routes is like the Haunted Mansion, so why not?
Also true. Also true. And again, that was to sort of bring things full circle when we were there doing our intimate wedding meeting back in 92. Was just chatting with them because they were just sort of getting the Disney Fairytale Weddings going. Asked about, where have people asked to have weddings that you have absolutely said no, and it's like, so many people have asked about the Haunted Mansion. And they want to get married in the grand ballroom, and it's just sort of like, you understand the ghosts aren't actually there, right? That it's Pepper's ghost, but okay.
I'm glad that Disney does have a limit, though.
There we
They got to draw the
go.
line somewhere, right?
There we go. Well, but mind you, that was 92. I don't know what they do today. In fact, that's another reason you should go to the expo. It's like, oh, you want to get married in the Haunted Mansion? That's extra.
Oh yeah, and I can't even imagine. I mean, like some of the price increases, they definitely have a market. But so even if you're not planning on getting married at Disney, we are going to be talking about a wedding that everybody can get behind, or maybe some won't get behind it because it didn't happen, I don't think. But after the break, Jim is going to tell us about when Mickey and Minnie almost got hitched. So stay with us.
It's melt season at Burger King.
Melt away the winter with BK's Cheesy Melts. Get classic, bacon, or shrimp and Swiss for only $4.99.
BK, have it your way.
Get with 2 opportunity patties. Limited time. Participating U.S. Burger King restaurants. Price may vary.
The last thing you want to hear when you need your auto insurance most is a robot with countless irrelevant menu options. Which is why with USAA Auto Insurance, you'll get great service that is easy and reliable, all at the touch of a button. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
I think I just won my taxes.
Yeah?
I just switched to H&R Block in about 1 minute. All I had to do was drag and drop last year's return into H&R Block, and bam, my information is automatically there.
So I don't have to go digging around for all my old papers to switch?
Nope.
Sounds like we just leveled up our tax game.
Switching to H&R Block is easy. Just drag and drop your last return. It's better with Block.
And we're back. Okay, we talked about, again, what Disney was willing to do in the early 90s. But it's important to understand that when Michael Eisner came through the door at the Disney company in September of 1984, I mean, he had marching orders from the Bass brothers, the Texas billionaires who effectively had gotten him the job at Disney. And it's like, the parks have to start making more money. And part of that, Lauren, was the studio wanted to be making more films and TV shows, and the money to pay for those had to come from something. So they were looking to create lots of reasons for people to come back to Disneyland or come back to Walt Disney World. So, for example, again, Eisner comes through the door September of 84. Summer of 1985 is Disneyland's 30th anniversary. So they do a 30-hour-long party. The next year, looking to create a reason for, well, you got to go back to Disneyland because you have to see this show. They did Totally Minnie, where you have to Google this at some point, Lauren, because what they basically decided is they did a makeover of Minnie, and it's as if Cyndi Lauper and Madonna became Minnie's good friends. But it's in those 80s colors, and she's a happening young lady. Then we jump ahead to 1987. It's Snow White's golden anniversary. It's been 50 years since that film first came out in 1937, so the parks really tell you to want to come out, and we're going to celebrate Snow White's golden anniversary together. The very next year, it's 1988. It's Mickey's 60th birthday, so there's a year-long celebration. They build Mickey Land at Walt Disney World. And then, of course, in 89, we get MGM opens. 1990 is Disneyland's 30th, and they have a parade called the Party Gras. And then the very next year is the 20th anniversary of Walt Disney World. And what a coincidence. The Party Gras floats from Disneyland travel to Orlando and are now rolling through the Magic Kingdom. And then, of course, in 1992, we get Euro Disneyland opening. So we're now at 1993. And the company, once again, to get people to book vacations and come to the parks, needs an event. And it's now Mickey's 65th birthday. And there are folks at the company who are like, I don't think we should do this birthday as a birthday, because people retire when they're 65. And more to the point, in the same window of time, Bill Stout and Jim Steinmeier create a comic book called Mickey is 60. And Lauren, I'm just going to suggest after we're done here today, Google Bill Stout and Mickey is 60. And this is the thing. They drew an entire comic book as if Mickey actually were 60. So Mickey's put on a few pounds. He and Minnie are no longer speaking, and he's gotten rather conservative in his old age. And it's a real. In fact, the interesting thing is they slipped a copy of it to Michael Eisner, and he thought it was the funniest damn thing. But at the same time, it's like, they're right. We really probably shouldn't celebrate Mickey's 65th birthday.
He's looking a little rough at 60.
Yeah, he'd look a little rough. So, again, we were talking at the top of the show here about Disney weddings and how they began offering them in September of 91, and the Disney Fairytale Weddings division of the company actually gets up and running in 92. And the company, again, this is Disney. They love synergy, and it's like, is there a way we can make the general public more aware that we're now doing weddings at the Disney theme parks? And so Lauren, in a lovely peanut butter and chocolate moment, the folks are like, well, all right, we Mickey 65, maybe we swap the birthday idea for another significant milestone in somebody's life. Like, say, what if Mickey and Minnie get married? And it's like, oh, that's interesting.
If he's 65, he's a late bloomer, don't you think?
Well, okay, no, but this is the thing that for a time, this idea chugs along at the company. All right. In fact, here's the initial conceit that in 1993, we find out around Labor Day that Mickey has finally, after almost being with Minnie for almost 70 years, has proposed. And Minnie said yes. And but again, they have been a couple for so long, and this is such a special event. Well, we can't just have the ceremony. Again, more to the point, Mickey's biggest fans have to be able to come. So I tell you what, we're going to do this at the Disney parks. In fact, on both coasts. And you're going to get to go to Disneyland or the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. And at some point during the day, well, there's going to be a parade where all of the wedding guests walk through the streets carrying their wedding gifts. And then there's going to be a ceremony in front of the castle where you're going to watch Goofy and Donald kind of spar to see who's actually Mickey's best man. And by the way, Pluto's the ring bearer. And again, you have to remember that this is Disney, the multimedia corporation. So there was, of course, going to be a TV special with celebrities commemorating this big event. But now entering the equation is the arm of the Disney company known as the Business Development Unit, which, by the way, nixed so many ideas for the parks. In-house, it became known as the Business Prevention Unit. For example, somebody would float the idea of, oh, let's do a Disney airline. Wouldn't it be cool? I mean, your Disney travel experience begins at the airport and fly down to Orlando and you get to watch Disney movies and the plane is done in Mickey colors, and the Business Prevention Unit's like, yeah, that's a wonderful idea until one crashes. And what do we do then when there's the image of the tail sticking up out of a cornfield with Mickey's face on it? And it's like, we're not doing that. Same thing. Somebody proposed a nationwide chain of Disney daycare centers. And again, the folks at Business Prevention, well, that's a lovely idea until somebody does something bad to a kid. Then that's the story in the Inquirer. And so this is what the business prevention, the business development people brought to the table. They're like, now, wait a minute. Face it, Hollywood marriages don't last. Mickey and Minnie get married, and half of the marriages in America to go down. I mean, kids are going to ask questions about that. Well, what happens if Mickey and Minnie get divorced? Or are they going to have kids now? And it's like, and more to the point, there's the question of does Minnie continue with her career? Does she become a housewife? And it's like, and the people who are like, we just want to do a parade. We just want to sell merch. Why are you asking these things? And it's like, these people brought up so many questions that at that point it's like, all right, we agree. This is a bad idea. That we should not do this. Mickey and Minnie should not get married at the parks. But the irony, the supreme irony here, Lauren, and we're going to talk about this after the next break, is Mickey and Minnie actually did get married.
What?
Or at least the people who voiced them did. We'll talk about that in a sec. But first, this.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
And we're back. Okay, so Lauren, you and I were just chatting about when Mickey and Minnie almost got married at the Disney parks, only to have this idea kiboshed by the folks in the Business Development Unit at the Walt Disney Company. But like I said, this happened in real life with the real folks who voiced Mickey and Minnie, Wayne Allwine and Russi Taylor. Now, Wayne Allwine was born in Glendale, California, home of Walt Disney Imagineering, back in 1947. Grew up in the area, and by 1966, he's got a job at Disney. He's working in the mailroom there, and eventually finds his way into the sound department at Disney Studios, working alongside Jimmy McDonald, who, by the way, had been voicing Mickey since Walt, because of his persistent cough and all that chain smoking, had lost the ability to go, hi there. So Jimmy took on that job in 1947. But now Jimmy is getting up there in years himself. And it's 1976. And they're looking for a new voice for Mickey Mouse. And Wayne's in the sound department one morning, and Jimmy comes in growling, and it's like, well, what's the problem? So, well, the guy who was supposed to come in to audition for Mickey didn't show up. So we got all the execs sitting around doing nothing. And it's like, oh, hang on. You go in there. You do Mickey. I've heard you do Mickey. Do Mickey. And Wayne goes in and does Mickey, and they're like, all right, you'll do. So now the new voice of Mickey Mouse is Wayne Allwine. Except this is a time at the Walt Disney Company when, for example, if Mickey's being done for the parks, that's Jack Wagner who's doing the voice. If, on the other hand, it's a Mickey Mouse toy, literally the company, whether it's Mattel or Marx or whatever, they're the ones deciding who should do the voice. And so Mickey sounds very different depending on where you are in the company and which division is producing that project. And so there's a gentleman called Les Perkins, who, ironically enough, had also done Mickey's voice for a couple of television specials.
Sounds like they're setting the bar real high.
Well, but this is the thing. Les is the one that's like, look, these characters, our company's founded on these characters. They have to sound consistent, whether it's in the parks or if I'm listening to a Disneyland record or if I'm watching on television. And so what Les actually convinces Michael Eisner to do is like, we need one voice, one, for each of these characters. And so Les holds auditions he starts with the Fab Five. And Wayne comes in, and he's already done Mickey, for example, for the new Mickey Mouse Club for the mid-1970s. In fact, he had just done Mickey for Mickey's Christmas Carol. And Les likes his Mickey, so okay, you're going to be our Mickey from here on. Tony Anselmo, who had been animating at Disney since 1980, he basically inherits the gig for Donald Duck because Clarence Ducky Nash, who'd been doing the voice since the 30s, actually died in February of 85. So it's like, we need a Donald, you're a Donald, there you go. Bill Farmer, lovely gentleman. In fact, kind of great that we're doing this show today, because Bill's, the very first time he did Goofy was in January of 1987, and he did it for a Valentine's Day special. They had some old Goofy cartoons from the 40s that they needed him to redub lines for to sort of create connective tissue. But that was the very first time that he did Goofy, and Les liked his Goofy, and so he got the job. And then there was this lovely young lady, Russi Taylor. She actually started doing Minnie back in 1986, but Russi, Lauren, it's almost harder to list the characters that Russi hasn't done voices for. She was everywhere, working for everyone out in Hollywood at this time. For example, she was Martin Prince, the twins Sherry and Terry, and even German exchange student Uter on The Simpsons. She was Baby Gonzo on Muppet Babies. She was Huey, Dewey, and Louie, as well as Abigail Vanderquack on the original DuckTales show. Not to mention, anytime you picked up a strawberry shortcake doll, that was Russi's voice coming out of
Holy moly.
that. So yeah, I mean, she was like the pro in the room. Busy woman. But she'd come in and she'd work with Wayne and Bill and Tony on stuff that had the Fab Five in it. And Wayne was just smitten. It was like, who is this amazingly talented woman? And he just finally, in 1989, after the character voice department got up and running at 88, and they began working together regularly on stuff for Disney, he got up the courage to ask her on a date. And then 2 years later, they got married. And Disney loses their mind. Because it's like, no, you cannot do this. No. I mean, and again, we were talking earlier about the Hollywood marriage, how they don't last. And it's like, you two, you can't get married because it's not going to last. And then you get divorced. And then the National Enquirer will eat our lunch. It's like, Mickey and Minnie get divorced. And, how will Disney deal with this? And blah, 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 blah. But here's the great part of the story, Lauren. They didn't get divorced. They lived happily together for 18 years. And in fact, the only reason these two ever parted is sadly Wayne died of complications due to diabetes in May of 2009. But prior to that, these two were joined at the hip. And I have to tell you, having interacted with them dozens of times at Disney press events, they were the sweetest, funniest people. And I one at one press event, I ghosted them as they went from radio station to radio station I want to say might have actually been the opening of Mickey's Toontown out in California. And they were Mickey and Minnie coming on a radio show in Pittsburgh or a radio show in Philadelphia. But that's the thing, they had played the characters so often, and they were a real married couple in life. That's how they were on the radio. They were just this sweet little old couple who just happened to be cartoon mice. and also, if you watch the various projects they worked on between when they started working with the character voice department in 1988 till, again, we lose Wayne in 2009, their versions of Mickey and Minnie get deeper and sweeter and funnier because they've been doing them so often. In fact, they were crazy protective of Mickey and Minnie. They would literally, you'd hand them a script and Wayne would go, Mickey wouldn't say that. You're going to need to rewrite that. And Russi was equally protective of Minnie.
And did you say that Josh Gad is kind of like that with Olaf? Like, once you've been doing it so long, like, you don't want to mess with it.
Well, that's the interesting thing is that Josh has done Olaf now. There's the animated shorts, there's the holiday special, there's the 2 films, and the 2 more to come. And I will tell you what, we'll have to ask him. We're going to hopefully bring him on the show when the paperback version of In Gad We Trust comes out. We'll ask him about that. But,
all right.
Anyway, again, we lose Wayne in 2009. And Russi continues as the official voice of Minnie Mouse, working with Wayne's replacement, Brett Iwayne. Likewise, Chris Iapoulos, who does the Mickey for those really crazy Paul Felix Mickey shorts. But sadly, we also lose Russi to colon cancer back in July of 2019. And just to sort of put a cap on the story here, maybe the company should have actually let Mickey and Minnie get married back in 1993 because Wayne and Russi just made it look easy.
Aw, that was an incredible story. I can't imagine poor Russi for 10 years without her Mickey.
She was, but again, she was still doing voices for everyone. She was really, really busy, and yeah, I mean, she did clearly miss Wayne, but
yeah. All right, Jim. Well, another home run of a story. But I think on that note, I think it's about time we close up shop for today. Coming up on our next episode, we're going to be talking about more Disney merch that we love, some new anniversary collections, and Jim is going to be taking us back to a simpler time, a time when the Disney dollar was still a thing. You remember those?
Yes. All right. Again, lots of interesting stories there, too. But anyway, if you want to stay up to date about everything that's happening on the Jim Hill Media Podcast Network, make sure you're following us on Facebook, Instagram, and X. We post all the latest updates and news from our shows there, so you won't miss a thing. And if you're looking for even more insider Disney content, check out our Patreon community. A lot of stuff's happening over there, like Disney Unpacked, the show I do with Len Testa and veteran Imagineer Jim Schul.
And while you're at it, make sure you leave us a review. It really helps to support the show, and it means a lot to us.
Cool. All right. Oh, just a reminder, if you've got questions or suggestions for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. So you can reach out to us on social media or email me at jim@jimhillmedia and Lauren
at laurenhersey.com.
Lauren at laurenhersey.com.
Super easy. Just our names. All right. On that note, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on I Want That Too.